Welcome back to News and Views with myself, Nafisa Dango, filling in, of course, for brother Inayat Wadi. It's all about educating ourselves with what's going on around us on today's show. And I think one of that is very important is lockdown level 3. We've got Aslam Mayat on the line. He's a senior executive and a member of AMAL and a senior lawyer of Durban. They've received numerous inquiries regarding the amended regulations and, of course, issued in terms of Section 27 of the Disaster Management Act, published on the 29th of December 2020, where the alert level of the lockdown was adjusted to level 3. And he's going to be telling us a little more about that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, Nafisa Dango, and to the listeners.
Jazakallah so much for joining us this morning here on News and Views. I think there's so many different things that people need insight into, especially with this situation that we're in. So we want to thank you for joining us this morning.
We'd like to thank Salam Media for providing the service to the Ummah.
I mean, let's talk about this whole situation that we're in. I think it's something so relatively new for us. Going through, the first wave, it wasn't as bad. We thought to ourselves, okay, this is it. We're gonna deal with it. We're getting over it, and then suddenly we get slapped with this lockdown level 3. Reason being, the situation that we're in right now is a whole lot worse than what it was before. If we look at our figures yesterday, yesterday alone we're sitting at 17,000 new cases, which is actually very scary.
Yeah, this pandemic is real, and the second wave more dangerous. The demand of the day is to exercise caution, responsibility, and wisdom. And as citizens of this country, we are obliged to obey the law. Each of us has suffered, someone near and dear has suffered from COVID. And the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers expresses its sympathies and prayers to all who have suffered or succumbed to corona.
It is a very scary situation. If you're looking at the burial committees alone and you chat to them, the situation they're in is they can't actually cope with what is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire medical facilities are all overwhelmed at the moment.
Yes. What is your take on this level 3? President Cyril Ramaphosa, I think, has taken this one notch up. Everybody was under the impression that he was probably going to just take it to level 2. But I think level 3 has worked in the sense that it's having to try and flatten this curve. And I think you'd agree with me that responsibility starts with us as an individual before we go out into communities and such and say, this and this is what you need to do. It starts with you yourself.
Yeah. Nafisa, if you don't mind, if I could just, go through the whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think it will be important for people to understand it in sequence.
Sure.
So if you bear with me.
Sure.
AMAL was inundated with demands from Masajid and the public for the legal position during adjusted alert level 3. And this call, as you correctly say, was increased from the differing viewpoints that went viral on social media, which added to the confusion.
Right.
The mandate and expertise of AMAL is to explain the law to the best of its ability. Now, Regulation 32 is clear. It imposes a general curfew confining every person, with limited exceptions, to his or her place of residence from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily.
Right.
Regulation 36 prohibits social gatherings, including faith-based gatherings, for 2 weeks. Now, accordingly, the regulations do not allow persons to gather at any faith-based place, including mosques. Masajid are not closed. Only gatherings there are prohibited. So accordingly, a person could go by himself or herself and pray at a masjid. Now, this is really the crux of the issue as far as the Ummah is concerned.
Brother Aslam, now that you're talking about that, the first question people would ask is, of course, tomorrow is Juma. How would you deal with that situation from a legal point of view, and of course from a community point of view? People will say, "It's Juma, I would like to go and read my salah in the masjid," but then you're finding more than, of course, one person wanting to do that. Would we follow the regulation then by saying only 50 people at a time, and that's just how it's going to work?
Yeah, I think one has to, from a number of points of view, we can only tell you what the law says.
Right.
And the law, as Amal stated, is clear. Congregational salah at masajid, jamaat khanas, and other places of worship are prohibited for 2 weeks,
Right.
after which the position will be reviewed. Now, this is what government intended. And this last part about government reviewing is the sting in the tail. The country is in a state of crisis. Medical facilities already overwhelmed. If the law is flouted, this 2-week ban on social faith-based gatherings will be extended and re-extended. It will be more elegantly and tightly worded and rigidly enforced. So the Ummah is urged to act with responsibility and wisdom. So just a short answer to your question about Juma, it is not, congregational Juma is prohibited. That's the law.
Right. Okay, so that makes sense, because the reason I asked that question, that would probably be the first thing people would ask, is how do we deal with that particular aspect of it?
Yeah. Well, that's the legal aspect, really. Now, I'll just touch on a few other points
sure.
which have created confusion. The government website states places of worship closed. Now, that is contrary to the regulation. It is unlawful. You'll see Regulation 34 says wearing a face mask is mandatory for every person in a public space, and any person who fails to comply with the verbal instruction by an enforcement officer to wear a face mask commits an offense. Yet government spokesmen routinely state that the mere failure to wear a face mask is a crime if you wear it in public, conveniently ignoring the second part. If you take social gathering, now, people are making a big song and dance about social gathering. Social gathering means an assembly of 2 or more persons for any purpose, excluding members of the same household or immediate family.
Right.
So the term social gathering is used to distinguish from family gatherings, which obviously are not and cannot be prohibited. And then there's a thing about faith-based.
Right.
This is explained in the AMAL statement, which was issued, I think, on the 29th.
Yes.
AMAL says that it's interchangeable with religious. Now, faith-based is a wider term, which includes not only recognized religion, but also any belief system, such as Rastafarian or other non-formal recognized religions.
Right.
So I think really the position is clear. We can only state what the law is. I don't know if you have any other questions, I can carry on, but if you might have a specific question to ask, Nafisa.
On a general consensus, what sort of laws do you quickly, we don't have much time, is it that you would like our public out there to know from a AMAL statement point of view? Because I think a lot of people need that direction. Some of them seem to be lost. They don't know which way to follow and what way to go.
Yeah, look, AMAL has made the position clear. For the next 2 weeks, congregational salah at masjid, jamaat khanas, etc., are prohibited. There's also the curfew that applies between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Now, AMAL accepts that there may be different viewpoints. Law is an unruly horse. Often a smart lawyer can find a loophole to wriggle through. The only other one that one needs to take consideration is the opinion of a statement by AMSA. Now, AMSA comes from a different perspective, from its Shura Council. Now, I understand the statement, AMSA concedes that the view that the law, it concedes that there is a view that the law prohibits congregational worship at a masjid. However, AMSA respectfully disagrees with this viewpoint, contending that inter alia, this law can be challenged as unconstitutional.
All right.
Now, the it is a democratic right of any person to patam a chance and defend criminal proceedings all the way to the constitutional court.
Yeah.
I think there's a group of black lawyers, lawyers for black people, which intends doing something in that effect.
Yes.
Now,
Brother Aslam, we seem to be running out of time here. But very
Yeah.
quickly, you spoke about the religious, gatherings. What about families? Because, obviously tomorrow's New Year's Day and people want to get together and have brides. What's your take on that from a legal point of view? In the sense that, we're just trying to make people understand the seriousness of the situation so that they can understand that there's a certain amount of things that's going to help them actually stay safe.
Yeah, look, I've only concentrated on the religious aspect of it. So, I don't want to talk on things that I haven't studied properly.
All right.
But, as I said, social religious gatherings are not prohibited because that relates, social excludes household and immediate family.
Right.
So that, look,
I think you've penned it out quite well. Because the thing is, that was the main question by a lot of people asking, what do we do now as far as the masajids are concerned and in going to read our salah? But we quite understand now that, it has to be done on an individual basis. And of course not in a congregational version of it, because it's going to actually create a spreader as we see going forward. But Jazakallah so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We seem to run out of it. We're hoping to catch up with you at some point in time going further. Thank you so much for giving us insight into the religious aspect of it, which was obviously one of the big questions people and the public were asking. So thank you so much for joining us, and Jazakallah for taking your time out for today. And we're also saying do stay safe.
Okay. From AMAL, a safe 2021. Thank you to Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Aslam Mayat, the senior executive member of AMAL, giving us the religious version of course, the law as far as reading Salah is concerned in the masjid. We're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back with you in a bit.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry.